this enlightening session glorifying the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan with the tagline He came, he saw, he sold with Mr. Snehanshu Gandhi, the co-founder of Kagaz Scanner and two more startups, Sorted and Tap. Hello, sir. My name is Madhav Malani. I am an executive at EDC and will be hosting today's webinar. Mr. Snehanshu Gandhi is an IIT Bombay graduate and has done his MBA from ISB Hyderabad. He kicked off entrepreneurship with TapMe, an app-based services startup. His brainchild Sorted is an all-in-one productivity app aimed at simplifying lives, which has multiple recognition to its name. With his latest entity, Kagaz Scanner, a made in India document scanner app, Mr. Gandhi once again seized the opportunity to solve a pain point through his startup, which became an overnight success after the ban on Chinese apps. It also received a special mention by the Government of India. For a person who has invested so much of his time into his startups, working towards making a contribution to multiple domains, I am sure our guest has lots to inspire us. I request the audience to put all their questions in the chat box. We shall take it up at the end of the session. Now I invite Mr. Gandhi to enlighten us with his entrepreneurial exploits. Over to you, sir.
Sir, you are muted.
Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Video calls and online meetings. So you are muted is the most common thing to be there. So thanks, Mother, for that introduction and having me here on this event. And hi everyone who's listening. So yeah, I mean, I can just start off with a quick brief about what I've done, where my entrepreneurship journey started, and how things have panned out for me so far. And maybe we can take it from there. If you have any questions, I can share some of my learnings and you can go from there. So I'll start from the start. IIT Bombay, I graduated from IIT Bombay in 2007. My entrepreneurship journey, in fact, like Madhav mentioned, it actually did not start with TapMe. My entrepreneurship journey started way back in 2006 when I was still in IIT Bombay, my final year. Like probably a lot of you here, I started off my first venture at that time. And it was something, a problem that we were facing as friends at that time, which we wanted to solve. And it was basically an internship portal, which would help people get internships in different companies. It was called India Interns. That was what we had started in 2006. Did that for about year and a half. And things didn't pan out as we were expecting. Lot of factors to it, but yeah, I mean, we were too young, naive to some extent. The ecosystem was not there like the active ecosystem that you have today in India. Back in 2006, there was hardly any major startups seen in India. I mean, just for context, I think Flipkart started in 2008. Ola started in 2010. So yeah, I mean, it was pre that period and there was not much in terms of the ecosystem to kind of guide us and help us move, navigate that whole thing. So did that for a year and a half and then took up a job in consulting. I worked with a boutique consulting firm in Bombay for about 3.5 years. Did bunch of different projects, got some exposure to entrepreneurship there as well, helped the promoter start a new company while I was still there, writing their business plan and helping them set up the business initially. From there, went to ISB Hyderabad for my postgrad, for my MBA. After MBA, went to Indonesia from campus, worked in Indonesia for about 3.5 years. But that entrepreneurship itch was still there. वो entrepreneurship का कीड़ा लगा हुआ था, तो it had to come back, and decided to come back to India in 2015 to start TapMe, which was my second venture with Gaurav, who was my partner there, and did that for about 3.5, almost 4 years actually, from October of 2015 to October of 2019. I was part of that. And then started the current company in 2019, October 2019 is when we went full time on this company. Launched our first product called Sorted AI. Then tried a bunch of things there. Launched our second product called Kagaz Scanner in June of 2020, and Kagaz Scanner took off very well, and we've got a lot of traction coming on Kagaz. The product has also evolved a lot. We have now more than 2.7, 2.8 million users who've downloaded the app from Play Store. We have like very active user base scanning documents, like more than 5 lakh pages being scanned every day using Kagaz. And yeah, it's been a good journey. We are a small team of 7 people. In fact, the co-founding team is same team which was doing TapMe. So Gaurav and Tamanjeet, who are my co-founders at Sorted AI, we were also team at TapMe, built TapMe also together. So in that sense, it's been our entrepreneurial journey of last 5 years together. And yeah, that's where a brief of my journey. In terms of things that I would like to highlight from this journey, learnings. I mean, of course, you learn a lot when you run a company, but some of the key things across these 3 companies that I've learned is the first and most important thing for me is why you are starting, the reason for you to get into a startup. It may not be why you're starting this particular idea, but why at all you want to get into entrepreneurship. It's not glamorous the way it looks from outside. It has lots of ups and downs. So you need to have the right reasons to think about entrepreneurship, because there'll be lots of ups and downs, and you'll have to carry on building what you want to build, and the odds of success are against you. It's not something that you get in and you'll be successful. The odds are against you, so you need a very, very solid reason why you want to get into entrepreneurship. And for sure, it cannot be reasons like it feels glamorous or I want to be my own boss. Those things actually are not true. You're not your own boss at all. You have your investors to answer to. You have your customers to answer to. As a founder, you have your team to answer to. So you're not really your boss also. So in that sense, the first and most important thing for me is why you are starting up. It has to be a very strong, compelling reason for you to get into entrepreneurship and a particular idea that you want to pursue. When we talk about ideas, I'm sure you would have heard this quote earlier. Ideas are a commodity. Every time you think of an idea, take it from me, 10 other people are also parallelly thinking about the same idea and trying to work on that. So if you think ideas are commodity, execution is where people differentiate between what they achieve versus what idea they had. So that's another important part for me. Second is, now to execute well, you need a great team in place. And as I said, it's not a very straightforward journey that you'll have. So you'll need people to bank on. You need a great team which helps you navigate the highs and lows of your entrepreneurship journey. People to bounce off ideas, people to just be together in a team and build it. So that's the third important thing for me, that once you've figured out why personally you want to do it and what you want to work on, the other important part is make sure you have a great team. Ideal would be have great co-founders. If if at all you decide to work as a solo founder, make sure that you get great early team members on the team who complement you, who can support you, who can build towards the vision that you have. That's number 3. Once you've figured, this is the idea, this is the team that we're going to work on. Now the most important part from building a company's perspective is build something that people want. Build something that people would love. And that is basically the initial phase of your startup journey should be focused completely on that. Are we building something that people are going to love? Are we building something which people are using it every day or as frequently as possible? And that is basically what you would have heard the term called product market fit. That is product market fit, to figure out something that everyone is going to love and use, and it becomes a part of their regular daily life. That's where your initial years should be focused on. Once you have kind of figured that out, there comes a part of building the company. Now, so far you were working on an idea, you wanted to create it into a product, you built an MVP, launched it, figured out what people like or not like, iterated on it, and came up with something where you now kind of are attaining product market fit. That's where it now comes down to making it a business. Till now, it was an idea, a product, which people are loving. But a startup is not just about the idea, it is actually about building a company. And building a company means it has to be sustainable, it has to have a business, people have to pay for things. And that's where a lot of things come in, where you need to think about building a great next level team. Once you've figured out the founding team, you need to build a great team which can continue to do this, have customer obsession all the time, to make sure that everything that you do is driving that one particular metric for you. Making sure that business is running, sustainable. That could mean fundraise, that could mean generating revenues, making sure that your costs are in control, or all boring stuff which when you start, it's not something that no one's excited about doing things. Most people are, I would say most people are not excited about this. Most people are excited about a great idea, building a great product, getting traction and all of that. But building a company requires all of this too. And the other important thing that I've learned is stay in the game. For you to win this, it is a long haul, and you have to stay in the game. It could mean it could mean different things in what kind of business you are in, but stay in the game and make sure that you continue to strive and survive and strive, so that eventually you will be able to make that successful. Because again, you're playing the game of odds, and as we know in probability, to increase your chances, you just play a lot more, and eventually you'll figure out one thing that will make you successful, and that's important. And if you look at all, like majority of the startup successes, it's never a 1 year, 2 year kind of a thing. The real success comes and it takes years, 7, 8, 10 years to really build a large company. So you have to stay in the game to create value for everyone and to create a real impact for the users or for yourself or your investors, everyone involved. And I think a lot of gyan on that. Last thing, there's nothing right or wrong. This is my point of view. This is what I have learned, things that have worked for me, not worked for me. Take it with a pinch of salt, figure out what game you are playing and play it like that. Don't play someone else's game. Play your own game, and you have to figure out that on your own. There are lots of resources, a talk like this, or speaking to someone who is a founder in your network, or reading books, blogs. All of those are resources for you to get some idea on various things. And then you have to figure out how does that apply to you, to your situation, to your company, and what makes sense to you personally. Once you've taken all the inputs, figure that out on your own, what works for you, and go ahead. I think that was long enough for a monologue for me to do. I think any questions I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, sir. It was pleasant to hear you. Now let me start the very necessary questions which I believe relate a lot with our budding entrepreneurs, along with taking up questions which you guys posted while registering for the event. So my first question is, as you mentioned, there should be a solid reason why to start up. So what was the driving force which took you to dive into your own startup?
Sure. So, like, for example, as I said, the first venture was India Interns. It was about getting internships for students. I was a student at that time, had just completed my mandatory internship of months at IIT, and I figured that, getting an internship was like, we had campuses like ours, IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay. We are privileged that companies come to the campus to recruit for internships as well. And in that structured way, still there are people who struggle to find a good internship for themselves. We realize that, this is for the premier institutes. What happens to everyone else in the country who are not privileged enough to get access to these companies so easily? There should be something for that. There is a platform for Naukri. Then there should be something for internships as well. So we were trying to solve a problem that we faced or our friends faced, and that was one reason why we wanted to do particular thing. And in terms of a personal reason, it was more to, can I create an impact by building something which can be useful for a lot of people, and am I driven enough to build something? That was what India Interns was about. If I look at Kagaz, our first product was Sorted AI. Again, I was solving a problem for myself. I was having a challenge of organizing my documents for my family, and it was too boring a task for me. यार सारे documents को scan करके कहीं पे Google Drive पे डालना, and then create a Excel sheet which I can then share it with my family members. Too much of effort, and these documents keep changing. Once you guys get into jobs, you will know. I mean, you have tons of things to think about. You have insurances, investments, you have various different things that you need to keep track of in terms of documents for yourself and your family. And I was facing a challenge, and I thought, this has to be automated. I don't have the discipline and motivation to do it on an ongoing basis. Can we get it automated? And that's where Sorted AI came in. How to get my documents sorted, and that was the name, Sorted AI. And Sorted AI does that. You click a picture and upload to Sorted, it will automatically organize the document. The AI engine will understand what this document is, whether it's an Aadhaar card or a vehicle insurance or a life insurance or a mark sheet, and organize it in folders automatically. So again, solving my problem. Then, of course, as we kept learning from our users, we figured that this problem is probably a problem for some people, but a large chunk of Indian audience, which is what we call the Bharat users, who are coming to the internet, coming to the digital world for the first time in the last 3-4 years, thanks to Jio that has put a smartphone and internet in everyone's hands. These people have a different challenge. I mean, for you and I, we are first generation internet people who have access to laptops and high-end smartphones. But for someone who's coming onto the internet for the first time, their primary device to access internet is mobile phone. And for them, everything has to be happening on mobile phone. And we figured that is a very challenging situation. Something as simple as organizing your documents and files, which is very easy on your laptop. You can just create a folder and move things easily. Think of doing that same thing on your phone. It's not that straightforward. And for someone who's very new to all of this, it's not easy. So then we figured that, okay, there is a problem that people want solved. Is this going to create a large impact? Does this satisfy me in terms of my personal thing that I can create value here? And that's how we got into doing this particular idea. So yeah, it starts, for me, it's always started with something personal, and then based on what we learn from the users, evolves into something else.
It's very nice, sir. So my next question is कि many entrepreneurs have very unconventional journey to a startup. Like some of them are the college dropouts, and some of them are even school dropouts, like Mr. Nikhil Kamath or Zerodha, and there are many more. But you had a very conventional journey. You did your secondary education, then you did your graduation, then post-graduation. So how much, according to you, colleges contribute to the entrepreneurial world, and in what ways?
So entrepreneurship, honestly, no one can really teach you entrepreneurship. I have got engineering degree from IIT, did my MBA also. MBA is supposed to be all about management. It teaches you a lot, but entrepreneurship is not really something that anyone can teach you, whether it's school or college. You can get exposed to different ideas, which is what colleges are supposed to do. Expose you to different ideas that, okay, this is also something that happens in the world, and you can also try it out if you like it. So if I think about IIT, my IIT journey and how it got me into entrepreneurship was at IIT, along with academics, I was also exposed to a lot of different things in terms of, managing a college fest. So I was part of the Tech Fest team of my year, and I was part of the core team, which gave me exposure to, okay, there is this large scale event that I can organize where I have to lead a team of so many people, manage so much of budget, and create something which for 3 days people are going to love. That was an exposure that gave me the confidence that, okay, I can create something and I can work in a team, I can lead a team and create something which people are going to enjoy. So that was one thing that I would credit being in college too, that it exposed me to that. Early days in terms of entrepreneurial ecosystem in India, but we still had entrepreneurs on IIT Bombay campus at that time as well. My seniors were starting up companies who were still also in their early stages, were starting up. Some of them were still in college and trying to do something. That was something that again exposed me to something which I had never seen. I mean, I come from a very conventional background, as you rightly said. My father has been working in a government job, and in the place where I live, there's everyone engineer and or doctor, and everyone's doing a job. No one's into business. So entrepreneurship was something that I got exposed to when I was in college, and that's where I thought, okay, I can also try. And then I had friends who I could work with, who had similar thoughts about certain problems. So in that sense, colleges can give you exposure to a lot of different things, may not necessarily be able to teach you entrepreneurship, because that's something that you learn on the go. And if you're someone who's got exposure to entrepreneurship because of a family background, or for some other reason, and you decide to go take that path, then you can do it, drop out from college or drop out from school and go on and do it. And a lot of people have been doing that and they've been successful as well. But education definitely gives you exposure to a lot of things, which if you don't have otherwise, it's a great place to learn in a controlled environment.
It's very nice. Then my next question is, you did a startup early, like you said that you did a startup in your final year. So
Right.
what is in your view the right time to start up?
Whenever you feel that you are so passionate about a particular idea that you want to pursue it right now, and as early as possible is great to get exposed to. There are some of the things, of course, which working before starting up helps you in terms of you get some exposure to working in a team, creating something, but is not necessary that you have to work before you get started. And as early as possible, I would say, because as we get addicted to the I would say one of the most addictive drugs that exist there, the salary, it becomes more and more difficult to leave. And for someone who's comes out of an IIT, you typically are going to get very good salaries. And once you have that, it becomes more and more challenging to leave as that continues to grow every year. So if you start early, it's easier to get started. You don't have a lot of responsibilities, so you get exposed. I mean, you can take those risks, and you get a long. As I said, you have to stay in the game for a long time, so you get a period to stay longer in the game. So I would say start as early as you feel comfortable. Most important is you have to have a very, very strong drive, internal drive to get started. I think few days, like 2 days back, 3 days back, there was a Clubhouse event with Elon Musk being there. I don't know if some of you might have attended it or not, but he said, if you need encouraging words to get started, don't start up. It has to be an internal strong motivation. If you think you need, the question was to him that, can you share some encouraging words to startups so for them to get started? or young entrepreneurs to get started. He said, if you need encouraging words, don't start up, because it has to be very, very internally driven to keep you motivated all along.
So as you mentioned that as early you start up, you do not have to face the responsibilities of family. So you said that you worked in Indonesia for a couple of years, and it took about 6 to 7 years for Kagas scanner. So did you face the responsibility of family, or it was a pulling back that you have to look for the family as well?
So honestly, I've been lucky on that front. I've been now married for 10 years. I have a daughter as well. So when I started started TapMe, came back from Indonesia to start TapMe, my daughter was just born, and in that sense, there was a lot of responsibility. But I was also lucky that my wife, was supportive on that front. That if you want to do it, you should do it, and if you have a working spouse, that also helps to make sure that your house runs well, you do not get a salary. So those are important things, and it is very, very important to get a buy-in from your family, whether it's if you're married, then wife, otherwise wife or husband, or parents otherwise, to get a buy-in, because they'll be important part of your journey, and they will have to bear with you on all good or bad days. So they need to have a good buy-in. So for me, it was not something that pulled me back, but of course, at the back of the mind, it is something that I have to keep in mind when I take up something, that I have a family to support. Though my wife is also, playing a big hand there.
So it is something not working for 5 to 6 years. So like you have done the startup and it's not quite growing. So if it would not have worked for say more than a year or some more time, so what is it with which you have continued your career with? Like, would you have ever thought to drop the plan of startup and again continue the job?
Sure. So in that sense, I mean, my previous startup, TapMe, was something that we tried for 4 years, and we tried a bunch of things there. Eventually, it did not work out. And I mean, luckily for me, or I don't know if I was thinking that way, but I had another idea that I felt is something that we can work on, and we wanted to pursue it. So we decided to jump on it. If I was not being an entrepreneur, I don't know what I'll do. I'll probably work in some. I enjoy working in smaller setups, so I would, if not my own startup, I would probably be working in a startup, in probably an early stage where I can, work on something, building something new, and have a lot more impact than probably working in a large company. But I don't know. After having been an entrepreneur, at times I feel like I'm not employable anymore, probably because you do end up doing so many different things that you're not really specializing in one particular thing, unless of course you're a tech guy who's been a tech guy for always, then you're still specializing. But someone like me who's been a generalist with my startups, I don't know. Probably working in an early stage company, doing a generalist role somewhere.
And my next question is, generally 2 types of strategies are seen. Like first an idea comes, then people collaborate to start up. Or first people collaborate, then they search for an idea. So what was the case with you, and what is your view on the 2 cases? Like how should people move for this?
So for me, it's always the ideas come first, and then the team. And as I said, there's no right or wrong answer. A lot of people start up saying that we want to work together. We like working together, and we are all excited about doing a startup. And we have few ideas that we are going to think about, and eventually pick one. That also something that works for people. I mean, eventually, even if you start with an idea, it doesn't necessarily stay the same. You start building and it changes. So the idea of when we started, it was Sorted AI. Now it is Kagas. It was Sorted AI was being built for a different kind of audience. Kaagaz is being built for a different kind of audience. So whatever works. I mean, for me, it has always been starting with an idea and then, getting a team that you want to work together with.
So as you mentioned that the second most important thing according to you is team building. So how should the core team look like? I mean, what skills the team must possess to take the startup to a success?
So I think skills for me is something that comes second in terms of a team. The bigger part is that you as a team have to have a very strong bonding coordination between the core team members or the co-founders, because as I said, it is going to be a journey which is going to have lots of ups and downs, and you have to be able to stick together. Small things like all founding teams have people who are very passionate about whatever they are doing. By design, it is like that. People who get into entrepreneurship are very passionate about what they're doing. That also means we have a lot of times we have very strong opinions which are not aligned. We are thinking in two different directions with the same vision, but approaches could be different, and you have a lot of heated discussions. That in those discussions, teams could break very easily, because those discussions are it can get very heated. At that time, you need to have that kind of bond that, okay, this is one particular thing that we are discussing, and once we are done with this discussion, we are back to being friends or back to being team members. We are not taking anything personally, that how can he say this to me, or whatever that topic of discussion be. So it has to have that, the co-founding team has to have that kind of bonding, where you have the comfort of having open conversations about everything. Then comes skills, which is also important, that if you're looking at building a particular kind of business, you need to have all kinds of required skill sets. So in our case, for example, when we started building Sorted AI, between the three of us, I looked at product, Taman looked at tech, and Gaurav looked at growth. And since we had worked on a startup before this together, we knew our core strengths, what everyone brings to the team. And these were the three things that we needed for building a tech-focused productivity, building productivity tools for people. And in fact, for almost a year, we did not hire anyone else. It was just three of us building, because within the three of us, we had the capabilities to build, to grow, to everything, including running the business, designing. Everything was internal. So for me, the skill sets depend on what kind of business you are going to run. And but before skill set, it comes that you have to have that kind of understanding and bonding between the team members.
Now let us come to Kaagaz. So when and how did the idea of Kaagaz come? Did the idea was born out of an opportunity to grow when the ban on Chinese applications was announced?
So actually, we launched Kaagaz Scanner 15 days before the ban happened. So Kaagaz was launched on 13th or 14th of June, and the ban happened on 29th of June. So it was actually not something that came because of the ban. As I said, we were building Sorted AI. We had about good 40,000, 50,000 users on Sorted AI as well, who were using the product. But in our discussions and observing the user behavior, and we realized that document management, which was one of the core features of Sorted, was not something that people think about every day. It's a boring task. No one wants to. No one gets up in the morning thinking, "Aaj documents organize karunga." It's not something. It's always pushed to the next weekend. Weekend pe karunga. And that's where we felt that people were excited about the idea when we told them about it, but they were not uploading documents to Sorted. And until they do that, the AI engine cannot do anything. So that's where, observing this user behavior, talking to our users, we figured that people are using different apps to scan documents for different reasons. It could be to share with someone, or just to have a digital copy on their phone. They were doing different things with a scanner. And we thought, why not let's make a scanner ourselves, and then people will start scanning, and then the AI engine will automatically come into play after people have scanned the document for some other purpose. So that's how we thought about building a scanner ourselves. And then, of course, around that period when we were having this discussion, the Atmanirbhar campaign was also going on from the government, and we thought that there's no good Indian scanner. Everyone's using a Chinese scanner. Why not build a good Indian scanner which aligns with what we want to build at Sorted and is something that people could use? And that's where the idea of building a scanner called Kaagaz came in. That it has to be very Indian, and we called it Kaagaz and built it. We built it in about a week's time just to see how people react to a new scanning app. And then the ban happened 15 days later, and we got a lot of traction because people were looking for an Indian alternative, and Kaagaz was very clearly an Indian solution available, and people started taking it up. And then, of course, as we got more users, we learned more about what people want, and we realized that there's a much larger opportunity with the Bharat users who do not have the basic tools which the people like us have always had and thought about them as something that obviously everyone has, which is not the case. And that's how the direction of Kaagaz has been around helping people manage their documents.
So the ban on Chinese applications made Kaagaz an overnight success. So naturally, two questions arises here. So if the Chinese applications would not have banned, so how would Kaagaz move? What were the business plans for it? And the second question, to what extent Fortune governs a startup?
So to answer your first question, if so for us, Kaagaz was something that was a gateway to get people acquire users and then offer them the Sorted AI offerings. That was how we had thought about Kaagaz, and that would have been the the business plan around that. That Kaagaz is something that people will use to scan documents, and specifically in this pandemic scenario when online education had become integral part of everyone's life, work from home was an integral part of everyone's life. We thought now everyone's anyway scanning documents. So people will scan, and Sorted AI engine will come into play where we'll then add more value over and above a scanner. So the plan would have been similar in terms of how we would have taken Kaagaz ahead. Maybe the growth would not have been as fast. It would have gradually come into play, but direction and a business plan as such would have remained the same for us. In terms of your second question, how big a role Fortune plays, I mean, that's one topic, one area that a lot of people give very less value to. Luck plays a lot of role. I mean, and I'll not say that we just got lucky. We were prepared. That's why we got lucky. So, but luck plays a huge role. If the ban had not happened, we would not have seen the kind of growth we saw immediately after the ban. At the same time, if we were not prepared, even if that event had happened, we would not have been able to capitalize on it. So, but I would say, I mean, luck plays a big role. We need to acknowledge that. At the same time, make sure that, as I said, this is a probability game. So you have to continue playing as many times as you can, so that whenever that lucky situation comes, you are ready to grab that opportunity.
So as you said that luck plays an important role. So do you take decisions related to your business seeing the horoscope?
No, not at all. Not. I mean, luck for me is, as I said, doing things, making sure that you're in the right place at the right time. You're trying to be at the right place at the right time by making sure that you're doing things, you're listening to what your users are saying, observing what's happening in the market, but definitely not horoscope.
So how is Kaagaz scanner different from other scanning applications, and how the question of privacy is handled by Kaagaz?
Sure. So in terms of, when we started building Kaagaz, we were playing the catch-up game, honestly, that, people have been used to of using a scanning app, and their expectation is that you give them that kind of thing. So we started off with playing the catch-up game, but we very soon realized that the big reason why everyone was against a Chinese application was that data security was a big concern for them. Everything that they scanned using that app, it was, they were not sure that is it being used for something, some wrong reasons, is the data being fed to some cloud servers, etc. So that was our primary, value proposition initially, other than just the act of the feature of scanning, that Kagas will work completely offline. You do not need internet for Kagas to function. You do not need to have a login to start using Kagas, or to ever continue using Kagas. You do not need a login, and people had the comfort that whatever is happening on Kagas app stays on their phone. So that was one important thing, that we made sure that we are not going to pull anything to cloud. It is going to be completely offline app. Second thing that we consciously differentiated on was we are not going to have ads. Now ads is another source of data leakage that is possibly there. You add a lot of ad engines that are there. One, of course, user experience gets bad with ads popping up everywhere, and then those are there are chances of them being manipulated for data security concerns as well. So we were conscious that we are not going to have ads. So first two things that we differentiated on, other than of course being a good quality scanning output, was making sure that the app is completely offline and not playing ads. While we were doing the catch-up in terms of building a scanning capability, this was where we differentiated completely. And of course, being an Indian app, we focused on that a lot. And then now, if you look at Kagas, it is starting to differentiate on a lot more things, which is where we are really innovating and are going to create a product which doesn't exist otherwise, not just in India, otherwise in the world as well. Now we are moving towards, we have within Kagas, we have a folder system where people can organize their documents. Again, think of a Bharat user who doesn't have a laptop or a desktop like you and I have. For them to organize documents, Kagas is acting as an organized storage space for them. We've also introduced our cloud storage, which is in beta right now, that people can back up their documents. Something happens to their phone, they have their documents safe. And then from there, we are working on building a lot of document management or document editing and creating tools. Again, think of a student who we put under the Bharat category, is someone who's got onto internet, sitting in tier 3, tier 4 town, has only mobile phone to access everything. He wants to create his own resume for applying for a job. He doesn't have a laptop to go and open a Word and create a resume. He has to depend on someone else, maybe a friend or a cyber cafe or something. We are looking at building tools for people to be able to do all of that on their phone itself. Editing PDFs, working on PDF documents, everything to be happening on your phone itself. And then eventually we bring in the AI element, which we've built at Sorted AI, to come into Kagas and create a very intelligent tool for people to work on.
So Kagas has very potential. So are we going to see it as the default application in our mobile phones soon?
That's the idea. That's the idea, that eventually whatever you can do on a Word or a PPT or an Adobe PDF viewer editor, you should be able to do all of that on your phone itself using Kagas.
So did you raise funds for the startup, and how the
Yes.
question of funds is answered?
Sorry, last
how
part?
The question of funds is answered. How did you raise the funds?
Right. So yes, we have raised, we've had 2 rounds of funding. One was our initial angel round, where we had first raised a small check from Axelar Ventures, then raised a little larger check from First Check, and then raised our seed round from Pravega Ventures and a bunch of other investors. So that's our fundraise journey so far. In terms of fundraise, I mean, eventually it depends on what kind of product you've built, what kind of traction you've built to showcase that you've created something which people use and you want people love, and what is the potential of this business. What is your vision? How long are you going to play this game, and how you're thinking of it? All those factors together is what helps you in raising funds. So yeah, that's been on the fundraise.
So according to you, which industry is the go-to industry for newcomers to target in the startup field?
Oh, there's so much happening right now. I mean, if you talk about hot sectors, there are, of course, EdTech is very hot right now. So if you think of something that can be useful for teachers or students, that's one area. Agri-tech is very hot right now. I mean, in terms of sectors, I think India is at that stage where everything that you have, every traditional industry or any industry that you have is ready for disruption using technology. And if you can use technology to disrupt a finance field or education or healthcare or agriculture, or build tools for the Bharat users like the segment that we are targeting, it's all right now in a phase where it's ready for disruption. And anything that you think you're excited about, my suggestion is don't look at what's hot right now. The sectors are of course right now hot, but you should not look at what's hot right now and try to build something there or work in that sector. Think of what makes sense to you. What do you get passionate about? And pick and choose according to that, and either work on a startup in that field or build your own. But think of something which you are really passionate about. Everything is ready for disruption right now. Anything you can build which people want to use is good to go.
So technology has a very important part to play. So here the degree of IIT comes into place for
I don't know how much of my IIT degree as such, because I'm a metallurgical engineer otherwise. So did coding a little bit during college, but that was like very minimal, just out of some curiosity that I wanted to explore. So I don't know so much about degree coming into play, but definitely the exposure that I got there, the network that I built there, all those things are definitely coming into play as you think about entrepreneurship.
So it is really pleasing to hear your story and how you turned the crucial moments in your journey to get where you are. You are truly an inspiration for all the people trying to carve their way into entrepreneurship. And the curious audience have also raised some questions. Here is one, Gaurav Agrawal. He asked, how do you assess the potential of an idea? Like you said that the product should be market fit. So how do you assess the product as market fit?
Okay, so product market fit is something that eventually, I mean, it's not something that you know on day one. How we've thought about, or what I think is a fairly good way of thinking about an idea and evaluating it is, first is when you get an idea, you need to run it past a few people before even building anything. First thing is run the idea past a few people. It could be your family, it could be your friends, any network that where you can go to some people and talk about that idea, passionately talk about that idea, and this is what I'm thinking. Does it make sense to you? And then see what people are how people are responding to it. Basis that, you'll get some idea that okay, this is a problem that I felt is a problem that needs solution, but there are few other people who also think this is a problem and they want a solution. Then look at a larger market. Okay, if this is a problem that I face and some of my friends face, is there some some more research that I can do, that okay, is this a large enough problem, and are there many people who are struggling with this? If you figure that there is something that that a lot of people are there's a sizable chunk that you can see based on your research, then look at building a MVP, which is basically a very basic version of your vision, and put it out to users. Let them try it out and give you feedback, and then see if people are using it or not. And after that, as you start, iterating on your idea, on your product market fit is also going to be an iterative process. It's not something that you know on day one that, okay, this product fits the market. You have an idea, you test your hypothesis by talking to some people, building something basic, test it again, and then keep iterating. Eventually, you'll figure out that, okay, this is the product that fits the market, and this is what I'm going to focus on. And focus on the market first, not the product. Being engineers, our focus is a lot more on the product that we are building and the technology that we are using, and we get very excited about those things, and that's something that I've also done. But focus more on, are people actually going to use it, and give them something to use before you build out the complete product. And then see, a lot of times people say that they'll use it, but they may not actually use. The user behavior may not show that. So think of it like that, and this is how we've tried to find out the product market fit for ourselves.
Rohit Shaw asked how the question of reach is answered by your team. What are the different platforms used for advertising the product?
Sure. So in terms of reach, we are focused on digital mediums purely, and for us, Twitter has been the best platform that has worked for us. And honestly, it was not something that we had thought initially about. We thought Twitter is very, it is of course very small user segment in India that uses Twitter, but that's one thing that has helped us a lot. It propagates messages quite rapidly. We've explored Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, but for us, Twitter and Instagram have been the platforms that have got us most traction. Along with that, of course, in terms of reach, we are looking at advertising as well. So we have primarily focused on Google Ads, and we've tried things on Facebook, etc. But for us, we felt Google Ads is something that has worked the best. Of course, then we are also exploring other platforms like a ShareChat, where we think the Bharat user could be, and exploring all those things right now.
Anshum asks the question, according to you, what are the activities one should never involve oneself into to be successful?
I not involve oneself into. Okay. So see, the things that I would say the things that I feel work for me is to get exposed to as many new ideas and thoughts of different people. And for me, things that have worked are reading. It could be reading books or reading blogs, or now you can also listen to podcasts or those things. For me, honestly, social media has been is a big sucker for your time, and as much as you can have control on that, I wouldn't say avoid it. It's also relevant, and you get a lot of information from there. But that's something that I would say don't basically get involved in things which take up a lot of your time without adding much value. Of course, entertainment is also important, and those things are there. Other than that, just pursue your curiosity, keep following things that you like, keep reading about things, and you eventually you'll not have time for things that do not add value. So just focus on things that add value for you.
Cool. So I thank you, sir, for sparing your time to come here and inspire us with your entrepreneurial journey. And thank you, guys. The session was really awesome, and it is the audience that make the sessions awesome. So thank you very much for your unwavering participation throughout the journey. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Madhav.
So
thank you.
the audience member can raise their hands to ask any questions. We'll take their name and then they can unmute themselves. Right, Ekjot, you can ask your question.
So, what according to you are the necessary financial tools that we must learn before starting a company?
Uh, so I would say starting a company, financials, it's very basic things that you'll need to know from running a company perspective, and those things you can pick up as you go. But some of the basic things around, how to what does a P&L mean, what does a cash flow mean. Important thing is, and it's at the starting level, it's very simple, similar to like managing your own personal budget. And one of the important things around finances that I have learned is cash flow is the king. P&L, or like what profit you're going to make and all of that comes in later. To survive, to make sure that you're thriving, your business is running, cash flow is an important thing. So learn about cash flow. Other things is something that you can pick up as you go. I mean, finance is something that you'll be able to pick up, and you'll be able to get people who understand that to come in and help you.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Nishtha.
So you talked about being unemployable after doing your own startup for some time. So I recently started my first job and I already get the same feeling. And I also want to do something on the side. So what's your opinion on that? Like as a new joinee, how do I devote my time to my own venture and also work on my job?
So, I mean, having side hustles is a great way to get into entrepreneurship. While you are working, you're still not sure what you want to, start up on, or you want to try out something. So, as a side hustle, it's great to start something. So, I would say take out time after your work. I mean, work ethic is very important. So, make sure that you're not compromising on what your job requires you to do. So make sure you give 100% there. But in your personal time, take out like an hour a day in the night, work on your side hustle, learn something that would be important for you to do that, and build on that. I think that's a great way to get started.
Thanks, Nishtha. Devansh, you can ask your question.
Uh, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. So I just entered my second year, and I'm really excited about entrepreneurship. I had like last year I sold some. I'm in bits, so I sold some Bitsart papers, and that's the only entrepreneur journey that I have been into. But now then, when you realize that you are in your second year and next semester you'll have your internship, so I'm having this feeling that if I'll be involved in all these things and not acquire any skills or like get into coding, I wouldn't land up in a great internship, and I might not be कहते हैं employable, and I might miss out on jobs and stuff. So how do you tackle those feelings, and is like, am I doing it too fast, like if I'm doing it in college, and am I missing like the bus or the train if I'm doing it too late? So these are some thoughts that I have.
So if I get your question correctly, you're saying that you're trying out different things in terms of, selling something and making some extra money somewhere, and you're worried that you're not focused on coding, etc., to get an internship or a job. Is that the question? Do I understand it correctly?
Yeah.
Right. So, so coding is one part that, I mean, if you're looking at starting a tech company, it's something that if you are good at, it's definitely going to be helpful. But that said, it doesn't have to be only that. And I mean, after coding, I think the next important thing for any business is to be able to sell something. As an entrepreneur, you'll be selling all the time. I mean, it could be selling your product, it could be selling your vision to your potential team members, it could be selling your vision to your investors. So selling is a great skill to acquire. And if you're doing things around that and learning that, it's definitely something that I would say is definitely adding value to it, and it's going to be helpful in your job or starting up in future. So I wouldn't worry on that. Do I need to learn coding? If you feel like it, if that comes from within, that you're excited about coding, then pick it up. If not, I mean, being able to sell something is also a great skill to have. And as far as too late or too early, as I said, if you feel about it, go ahead and do it. Doing something on the side along with your academics or your job is a great way to learn new things. And there's never too early, never too late as well. I mean, as you go, as you go later in your career, it becomes a little difficult because of certain other things. But it's never too late. I mean, I started started this company when I turned 34. So, I mean, nothing too late. You can start off whenever you want, but if you're starting early, great. I mean, I wouldn't be too worried on those things. Just go with the flow, and you're still getting into second year. So you have the next like 3 years to experiment. College gives you, and like college like BITS gives you a platform on various things and freedom to try out things without worrying on what happens. So you should try out things. I would always suggest that.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Devansh. Charchit, you may unmute yourself.
Okay, I would like to add my question to Devansh. Am I audible first?
Yeah.
I would like to add questions to Devansh's point only. That what do you think in college is important, co-curricular or academics? And if you say balance, then what is your opinion that academics later help us later in future if we want to start our own startup?
See,
नहीं कहना चाहिए, but still like that.
Right. So yeah, honestly, I don't want to be controversial here, saying that academics don't help. They help. Depends on what you want to do in your career. But at the same time, I would say doing something on the side is always a great idea to learn something new. And it could be extracurricular things. I have done all through my college life, been part of something or the other, whether it's at the institute level, college fest, hostel level. I've been involved in all those things, and I would say what I've done in my career is more to do with things that I did other than my academics. I made sure academics I was not like really bad at it. I was doing okay, but I have learned a lot more outside of my classroom. So I would say definitely be involved in some extra activities. It could be sports, it could be co-curricular things around managing a fest or being active in the student committees, etc. It's always good to have that along with your academics. You may prioritize some over the other, making sure that I'll get through grade mein itna to maar hi lunga type se. Agar you have the confidence, then you can focus more on other things. Make sure that you're not like when you're sitting for your since if you're not really decided ki entrepreneurship is the way, when you sit for your placement, make sure that you qualify for at least sitting in the placements. A lot of companies will have cutoffs around that. So make sure you have options open, but do get involved in extra activities. That exposure is very helpful.
One thing that I believe in the fact that gaining experience before starting one is a good thing to start off with. So in my opinion, I told myself that I'll do 2-3 years of job and then I'll push my idea forward. So
Sure.
for gaining that job, I need academics, but my interest in academics is nil. So that's what I was asking.
That you'll have to figure out how you get there. As I said, starting up has to come from a strong drive from within, and it not necessarily that's something that you have to start in college itself. You can start off after your work. I've started two ventures have come after working for 7-8 years. So it's not something that, and it definitely adds value once you have seen, you've worked in a startup. If you think of a startup, starting up sometime, work in a startup, you get exposed to a lot of things, how startups work, how people are, managing things, and that whole energy is something that you get used to of. So that's definitely good. If you think of startups and all, I'm sure a lot of startups in India are not too bothered about your whether you are a 9-pointer or a or topper in your class. If you're someone who can showcase that whatever I get into, I'll put my 100% to it and get a good outcome there. That's also something that is fine for a lot of people today. So it's not specifically that you have to be that good at academics, but make sure something good is reasonable is there so that you're not limited of options. That's how I'll put it.
Okay, I had another question. So can I ask or should I move on?
I'm okay
You may
if
ask.
anyone
You may
else is.
ask.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I had a doubt that instead of coding and designing, what other skill can I acquire to get a job? Because what I think personally that any person wouldn't hire me for my marketing skill or for anything like that if I do not being an if I'm not an MBA or stuff. Like, if I do not have a credibility in that stuff.
Not definitely not necessarily true. If you're looking at a startup and like early stage companies, MBAs are not. I mean, when we hire for our marketing team, for us, MBA is not a criteria. We look at something that you have done from that perspective, and that's also depending on what role we are hiring for. There are some times where you hire for a little bit of a senior role where you need someone who is experienced, and there are other times where you're okay with getting someone who can hustle through their way and even is fresher. We a lot of companies do take up that also. So as such, it's not something that you need an MBA to have marketing credibility. I mean, for example, my co-founder Gaurav, who handles growth for us and who's been able to get all the downloads and everything for us, is not an MBA. He's an IIT Kanpur graduate and worked for a year and a half, and since then he's been last 5 years or so he's been working on startups only and learning things on the go as we build the company. So it's not something that is a prerequisite. What early stage companies looking at fresh hires would be more focused on can you hustle your way through things, can you quickly learn things and deliver, and you have to showcase that. You can showcase that through different things, but that is what people will look at, not so much, especially in your early, like for first job, people will not be bothered about what have you learned in your coursework or what you have done that way. You have to show that you can actually take up things and quickly learn and do things. So take it that way. I mean, my suggestion is don't worry too much about what will get you a job and what will not. Just focus on things that you like doing and continue doing them on campus. I mean,
Thank
one question that specifically in terms of what areas you could work: coding, designing, marketing. Learn about how Google Ads works or how these platforms work for advertising or organic. How can you growth hack around various influencers or things like that. You can learn about product management. That's another area where a lot of people look at hiring someone who can understand a customer's requirement and pass it on to the tech team in terms of what needs to be built. That is also one great skill. Learn anything around sales, like what was mentioned just here, that trying out things around selling stuff. Those are all skills that people like, and if you do something like that, that is seen as a positive when someone is hiring at you at a startup, that you are a self-starter, you are a person who's going to try out things even if he doesn't have the qualifications per se. So yeah, focus on that.
Thank you very much, Lavit. Really cleared. Thank you.
No problem. All the best.
Thanks, Churchit. But just beware of that 2-3 years of regular salary that you'll be getting. I hope that doesn't stop you from going into your startup. So, Rohit, you may ask a
It
question.
also helps, just to add there, it also helps if you make good money in the first 2-3 years, then you have enough savings to take that plunge as well. So it also works that way. But yeah, I mean,
Definitely.
salaries are addictive, always.
I'll look into it. Thank you.
Right. Rohit, you may ask.
Sir, a kind of startup can be to tap the opportunities present at that moment. But how can we, just like Kagaz, because at that time apps were banned, and so Kagaz had a good opportunity to outcome and to rise. But how can we be sure that it may always sustain in the future and it will be sustainable and not vanish away as an opportunity?
Right. So as I said, startups, first thing, you're pitted against, the odds are against you. So it's not that if you've got something that is working now, it will continue working. You have to make sure that you do everything that you can to make sure that you stay relevant. And that's where it is important that's where we are not sitting on just being a scanning app. Scanning app is what got us to the initial traction and initial user base, but you're not sticking to just being a scanning app. We know that we need to evolve. We need to be more relevant for our users. A scanner is something that a lot of people, students may use it more frequently, but for most people it is once or twice a month kind of a use case. How can we become something that they use every week, every day? And we have to keep evolving. So in startups, any idea you think, I mean, if you look at any of the companies who have been successful, they've not just stayed at one thing that they're doing. They have to keep evolving as their users evolve, as the market evolves, and they have to keep creating more value, and that's how it will go. So whatever idea you think of starting up in, make sure that it is something that people want today, and then make sure that you keep evolving with your users as they give you feedback, as you see, observe a certain user behavior. You need to keep evolving on that, and that's how the journey goes. And no one can guarantee that a success today means success tomorrow also. You have to continuously work on it. And as I said, this is where your highs and lows come in. That there'll be some days where nothing is working for you, but you have to still stick around. It's like playing a test match. I mean, 5वें दिन तक फाइट मारना पड़ता है. 5वें दिन पे भी कुछ क्रैक हो सकता है, and you can still win it. So think of it like a test match or a marathon, and keep going, keep evolving.
Yes sir. मतलब हसल कल्चर रहेगा, वो चलता रहेगा.
वो हमेशा ही रहेगा. It's not going away.
ठीक है.
Thanks, Rohit. I think we'll end the Q&A question with Divyansh. Divyansh, you may ask.
Good evening, sir.
Hi, Divyansh.
Sir, as you have mentioned that you have also co-founders, so what did you think, or what did you think in your mind that I have to prioritize these qualities in choosing the co-founders?
So I wouldn't say that I chose my co-founders. Of course, we decided to work together. And for us, we had been working, I mean, before this, we had been working together on our previous startup as well. For me, the important thing is when this idea came, and when I spoke to Gaurav and Taman that I have this idea, does it make sense to you also? And would you want to, come and we work together on it? So for me, the first thing was, here's a problem that I'm facing, and I think this needs a solution which doesn't exist today. Do you think it's also something that you feel? And then I have to see that how excited they become with the idea, or the idea of starting up together, working on an idea. And that was like the number one thing for me, that do they have a strong strong motivation to work on this idea? Do they think this is a problem that needs a solution? May not be a problem that they are facing themselves. So for example, in our case, the first idea was about helping families manage their documents. And for me, that was a problem. For Taman, who also is married and has got a family, for him also it was a problem. But Gaurav could not directly relate to that problem, but he could relate that my father has this problem. So then he also got excited. And for us, then it was like, we have the right skill sets, we have the right drive, we've worked together, we have that compatibility in terms of, being able to ride through all the ups and downs. And we thought, we can work together. And that's how it came for us.
Okay, so compatibility, like friendship, like matters.
Yes, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say friendship in the traditional sense of how we think about friendship. You may not be like I have in terms of our personal circles. All three of us have different circles which we move in. It's not something that we are hanging out together all the time. For us, it's not the same thing. For a lot of people who start up together from college, their friend circle is also same and they're hanging out together all the time. For three of us, it's not that we are not from same colleges. We are not even the same age group. I mean, Gaurav is 7 years younger to me and Taman, and we have different kinds of circles that we move in a lot of times. But for us, compatibility means that when we are working together, we have the understanding what the other person is saying. We don't necessarily have to, we understand the objective of what the other person is saying, and we take it that way. So for us, compatibility is more around that. Of course, we are great friends also, but it's not that, we were friends first and then we became co-founders.
Thank you, sir.
Just to add into that question, like we as students sometimes feel that spreading our ideas may get that idea to be copied by others. So
Right.
do you think like we should spread our ideas to anyone who's there, or select the perfect person according to the skills, or someone who's extremely passionate about the idea as we are?
So first thing, as I said, ideas are a commodity, and if you are thinking of an idea, there are 10 other people who are definitely thinking of that idea. You may not know them today. Like, for example, when we started India Interns back in 2006, after we started, we realized there are 3 other companies, one in IIT Bombay itself, who are also working on the same idea, which we did not know before. So it's not something that, if you share it, someone else will do it. If you share it and someone can execute it better than you, then of course it's something that, you have to figure out how you'll execute better. And if it's something that you get started, what prevents someone to start the company on the second day once they've heard your idea? Once you've started the company, you are live. What prevents anyone to start the company after that? And if they execute well, then also that could be a good competition coming your way. So I think it's never you should not be worried about your idea being taken up by someone else or idea being stolen. More people you talk to, you will get more conviction around your idea or not. Either way, you will know that this is something that will work or not. And in those conversations only, you will end up finding someone who is also passionate about the same idea and may want to work with you. So never worry about that someone will take up my idea. I mean, we are working on something which, scanner was existing, and once the ban happened, there are 50 other cam scanners that have come up, or probably 100.
Right.
And they're all called cam scanner. So that's not something that you have to. You just focus on, does this make sense to you, and can you execute it really well? Focus on that. Don't bother about someone taking up your idea. Talk to more and more people as much as you can.
Right. Thanks. So Pawan has a question, I guess. Pawan, do you have a question? Or?
Sir already answered my question in the last.
Okay. So thanks a lot, everyone. I don't see any other questions or raised hands. So thanks a lot, Snehanshu, for sparing your time and being with us here today. And
no problem.
Giving your one. So last question, I think I should add in. So Elon Musk didn't have any advice to give, but I believe if you could give 1 or 2 advice to our budding entrepreneurs. So anything from your side.
My advice is just follow your curiosity around different things, and something will look like that this is something that I feel very exciting about, and something that I can build, and be very sure of why you are getting into entrepreneurship. Make up your mind around that first. Everything else is something that over period you will fall in place, or you will you can try to get a good team and focus on execution. All of that is more of once you've started, or once you've decided to start. Before that, just be curious about a lot of things. Try to see which thing can become a good startup idea for you, and make up your mind on why you want to start. And rest of it is something that slowly will come into place.
Right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, Rachit. Thank you, Madhav. It was a pleasure talking to all of you. All the best, everyone.
Thank you. So we'll be ending the session here. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye.